Hello, everybody. I'm in a musical mood, and I don't know why. Either way, it is Saturday, and I felt now that the holidays has come to an end, and time is a little more existing. I have some time to catch up on a few VRs that needed to be done, so I'm going to present to you the first of two of them. This would be, as you can see here from the screen, I pointed again and then realized you cannot see my finger. Pardon me. This is Alex Big Blue, his 450 sub giveaway. As you can see, here's the video right there. The 450 sub contest. He's at 452. A great channel. A lot of comic stuff. He's been doing actually a really cool series he's been doing. As you can see here, he's been showing a lot of number ones, and there's some cool looking books. So make sure to check him out. And for his 450 sub giveaway, he wanted, and I did have to actually ask and clarify if we had to have the books or not, and he said we did not. But he wanted a character that you felt was maybe either underrated or underappreciated, and why you like him. And I thought back, and obviously I'm just getting back into comics. I took a good amount of time out away from them probably through the mid 90s up until about 3-4 years ago. So there's a big gap in my comic knowledge, and I'm trying to pick it back up. So a lot of the opinions I give, because I went through and I picked five characters that I felt were maybe underappreciated. And one of them, maybe you've never heard of, but I have a story, as I often do. So we're going to go forward. And these are in no particular order, but number 5, I would say, would have to be the Silver Surfer. I know there's always, and I consider this more underrated. A very powerful cosmic being, literally with control of the cosmos at his disposal. Yes, he had the job, as it were, of being essentially a flunky for Galactus, but on his own, one of the most powerful beings in the universe in most realms. And I think a character that's really cool, and I'd like to see see him be used a little more. And now with the comic movies going the way they are, we have been able to see that. So I would like to see maybe a little more update on Silver Surfer. Next, if I actually click it, there we go. This one, Doctor Strange, but not the one from the movie. I'm talking about the DC Batman, Dr. Hugo Strange. For the plain and simple fact that I think he was one of the, if not the first, on his own, to figure out, in the comics at least, who Batman was, what Batman's real identity was. That alone, I think, is something that is worth talking about, because Batman has kept that hidden from everybody. But Hugo Strange done figured it out. Number 3, and if I remember the order I did these incorrectly, this is the interesting one. Come on. Yes! Has anybody ever heard of this? Super Colonel. I ask because years ago, my cousin had, I think, a binder full of these. And at the time, I think it was the first exposure to comics other than your standard Marvel, DC, or Archie for me. And it's literally, look at him, a little popcorn. A little popcorn. I wish I remember more about them, but I just remember the covers, and I remember the title, and I remember the little popcorn dude. So if any people down below actually know this one, please let me know, because I am curious. Or maybe it's just mass hallucination with pictures on the internet to prove it. Next one, one of my favorite X-Men. I was never really a big fan of the X-Men. I tended to go more for the Brotherhood because the villains I thought were cooler. But of the X-Men, I think one that is catastrophically underrated and underappreciated is Gambit. Um, because when you ask people, what their superpowers, if they could theoretically get a superpower, what would they take? And, a lot of them will say things like, I want to be able to fly, or I want to be able to turn invisible. But what practicality does that actually have? How can you really apply this? Gambit can take any object. As you can see, he always had a deck of playing cards with him. Again, I'm pointing, so the deck of playing cards here. And he can channel energy and turn them into a weapon. You don't think that would come in handy at some point? That anything on your person or anything you could pick up, you could weaponize? I'm sorry, that's a little more that right there to me is a little more cool than being able to turn invisible. It is what it is. But Gambit, I feel, grossly underappreciated, and him and Rogue, especially in the cartoon show back in the '90s, hilarious. Oh, hilarious! Those two together, oh, gold. And the final one, this one, the White Queen, Emma Frost. Why I feel she might be tragically underrated and underappreciated. One of her main powers, I think maybe her only power, although there was that diamond thing in the one movie that I'm not even going to discuss because it shouldn't have been. A very powerful, I think even in the comics, Charles Xavier himself said that she was the most powerful telepath in the universe. And I don't think she gets the credit she deserves for being one of the most dangerous comic characters out there, if you have to think about it. There aren't too many other than other extremely strong telepaths, or in the case of my favorite character, the Juggernaut, a way around being able to lock somebody out of your brain. To me, I would say Emma Frost might be one of the most powerful comic characters in comics. I know that's a little redundant, comic characters in comics, but you see what I mean. So that right there is just 5. I'm going to go back to Alex's page. I know he didn't give a number of people that you wanted to pick. Maybe it was kind of implied 1 or 2, but still, I wanted to do 5 because, and I figure I think I picked a fair representation for all the comic people, all of my viewers that are more into comics than I am, and that is a lot of you. How off was I with some of the things I was saying? Just curious, because those were my opinions, and again, opinions will vary, but that's how I felt about a lot of these characters, and I'd like to know what your thoughts were as well. So, link to Alex down below. Make sure to go check him out and sub him up. And I think he's running this contest for another week. I think he said January 14th. Anyway, there it is right there, the 450 subs contest. Get over there, sub them up, and make sure to get involved because contests like these are a lot of fun. And I look forward to seeing more videos. And hopefully you look forward to the next segment where we dive into something a little different. So stay tuned for that. Okay, everybody, here I am. Look how great I look under this yellow lighting. The only reason I'm doing that because I wanted a comfortable place to sit, but then these lights would have been exceedingly bright, so here we are. This is the second part of, I guess, my impromptu VR Saturday. This one goes out to Neil's Comics and Video Games. He posed one, I think it was about a week or so ago, he posted it, and it was just 10 random questions, just for answering purposes. I've seen a couple people do them, and they're some pretty interesting answers. So, pardon me, link to Neil is going to be down below, and I'll put in the list of questions. It says to tag, but if anybody wants to jump in, there are quite a few of you, and I think you know who I'm looking at. That I would be very curious to hear some of your answers. I'm going to keep constantly looking over here because that's where I have the questions. So it's question number 1, and this is a really interesting mix of stuff. What superhero would you date and why? Ooh, I don't know. I think actually, no, I take it back. I'm gonna go throw back to the previous VR with Alex Big Blue. Uh, it's gonna have to be Emma Frost, simply because people say, well, why would you want to date a telepathic? We're men. They know what we're thinking. you know, but it's not just so much that. I mean, Emma Frost, the business mogul as well. So basically, you're. I mean, come on. I have trophy husband written all over me. Is all I'm saying. Question number 2. Well, if you became a millionaire overnight, what's the first thing you would do the morning after? Now, I have to say this. There is going to be some comedy sprinkled in with some stuff. Some more like, what was the one? Hollywood Squares. You get the joke sheet and the real sheet. I became a millionaire overnight. What's the first thing I would do the morning after? Buy new pants would be the first thing once I realized what had happened. Now, I think at that point, probably, here, adulting 101, I'd probably start paying off bills and, laying aside money for the old retirement fund. As lame and boring as that sounds, that's sadly the kind of decisions we're forced to make. Question number 3, if you hit 1,000 subs in a weekend, what would you do? First off, I would wonder how that happened. I mean, let's be honest. And then it would be like, oh my God, there's 1,000 people that are going to watch me be an idiot on the internet. Honestly, I don't know if I would do anything differently. I'd be extremely grateful, and obviously I would want to find out where the sudden, probably be around 650 plus or so influx came from. But other than that, I think it would just probably be business as usual. Eating really crappy gum and making sarcastic and pithy remarks. Number 4, what is my biggest fear? Well, obviously, other than something happening to my family or people that I care about, weirdly, I have a very bad fear of heights. And as I found out when I had to get an MRI years ago, a very bad fear of enclosed places. I am a wide man. The MRI tube and I, let's just say we did not get along. It took 2 times because the guy told me to stop moving. But I couldn't because terror. Now this one is a very thought-provoking one, and I actually have given it a lot of thought. If you had to lose your sight or hearing, which would you rather? I mean, all things considered, I have given it a lot of thought. For me personally, it would probably be hearing, just because everything out there now, it's seemingly set up very easily for people without the ability to hear or not hear as well as others. Closed captioning is everywhere. Everything is written in text. Everything, literally everything is set up to basically be able to be read. Sight would be a lot more difficult, especially having lived along, the entirety of my life with sight. You have to basically completely redo everything, and then you would have to learn to read Braille and this and that. And while the hearing, I have heard that hearing and other senses do pick up a little bit if you've lost a sense. I don't know. That's just what I've heard. But, I don't know. For me, I think it would just be, I don't know. I think for me personally, I think it would be better to be able to see but not hear. That's just me. Question number 6, what is my dream car? And if I can't drive, then what is my dream shoe? Well, thank God I can drive, because When I said hello, I told you all I knew about shoes other than which ones fit me. Dream car? I don't know. I go back to thinking about the old Top Gear before the three split off to do the Grand Tour, and all the great looking cars they showed, and just amazing stuff. And you want to think, do you want a supercar? Well, I'm thinking practically. I live in outside of Rochester, New York. Where in the world and for how long would you be able to actually use a Ferrari or a Lamborghini? Although I have seen them around here. I would probably say it would be like a really just cool, like Aston Martin, you know, DB9, something like that. Just because I love the design, they're well made, and you could actually use it as a vehicle for more than 3 weeks out of the year here. Question number 7. Do you think another planet has life on it? I think we already proved that. Didn't they find water and or bacteria on Mars? Excuse me. And by technical definition, if you find bacteria, that is Martian life. But if that's not the case, yes. I mean, the universe is vast. The chances are that we are the only planet in any solar system that has some sort of life, sentient or otherwise, on it. Defies logic, defies physics and logic and science. Question number 8. If you could change, one thing about your past, what would it be? This one I've actually talked to many people about, and the answer, plain and simple, is nothing. Because people always say, well, if I could go back in time, I would do this. But you have to remember that time is linear. Time is a linear thing. Therefore, if you alter something, everything that we are as of this moment is a result of what has happened in the past. So therefore, you change something. You make a different decision. Where would your life be? It could be completely different. It could be for the better, could be for the worse. You could be, I could be in New York. Another choice, I could have gone to, a college I was looking at in Iowa. And maybe I, went to Iowa and stayed there and instead of New York, and who knows. But so in all honesty, I think it would be nothing, just because I know where I am now. For better or worse, this is what I got, and I would rather this because I know basically how it goes. Question number 9. What pets do you own? He's over there. And at the end of this, I'm going to show him because he's looking at me like, human, why? Human, why? But I'll get a shot of Leroy in a minute. And the final question in this one, this is a good one. Is there a such thing as ghosts? With things like that of the supernatural or cryptid nature, I've always found myself erring on the side of skepticism. However, especially and I'm going to get off topic slightly, but especially when it comes to the idea of cryptids, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, but Loch Ness Monster, no, but I mean, there is a chance. There's a lot of animals out in nature that we don't know about, quite simply. And I think it was maybe, 150, 200 years ago that we first observed mountain gorillas, but they'd been there for a long time. Or the coelacanth. They thought it had been extinct for millions of years, and now there's, hundreds of thousands of the things. They started finding them, I believe, in the 1930s. But is there such thing as ghosts? I don't know. Maybe. There are a lot of unexplainable things that happen. And I guess in any case, when it comes to stuff like this, would I like to be proven wrong? Yes, 100%. So right now, I can't say that there's any such thing as ghosts. I can say there are many strange and unexplainable things that happen and have happened. And would I love to be proven wrong? Absolutely. I would love to be proven wrong. So for this, we're going to... Actually, you know what? We're just going to get up and walk over and see him. Right, buddy? Come on, Leroy. So where's he at? There's Leroy. Yeah, it's a buddy. That's my good old buddy. This is Leroy. Oop, I'm not even looking at it, so bear with me. There we go. 12 years young, just an old gray face. And he's a good old boy. Aren't you a good old boy? Yes, you are. You good old boy. So that is the pet, and I wouldn't say I own him. I would say, as any pet owner will tell you, he owns us. So there you go. That is my sit back down, and yes, I'm not going to flip this, so, because, you know. That was it. 10 random questions answered for Neil's Comics and Video Games. Link to him and link to Alex Big Blue down below. And if anybody else wants to take up if anybody wants to take up either of these two challenges, I'm very curious to see what your answers would be. So, hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully 11 and a half minutes of staring at this guy wasn't too much. And catch you later. Have a good weekend, everyone.